This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Going right to the Higginbotham Hotline. Joins us each and every week thanks to our friends at Craneworks. You can hear him on ESPN, hear him on the SEC Network, hear him right here on Jocks, 2 to 6 p.m. weekdays. It's Paul Finebaum.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Paul Finebaum on Mac and Cube in the morning is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it, the big dog's got it. Now, Paul Finebaum.
Paul, always great to have you in on a Monday morning. Interested in, with a little bit of a break from it felt like everything that we've been discussing with bills, Congress, the SEC, the Big Ten, maybe trying to get some new things altered in this bill that maybe could change the landscape of college sports. Where are we today with the Cruz-Cantwell bill as it pertains to the SEC and the Big Ten in your mind?
I don't think much has changed. I was around different places last week and talked to a number of people, and the people that are behind it feel like there's momentum, but it is now July. Time is pretty much the issue, and I don't think much has changed, Cole, and I know I'll save you a long soliloquy on all the things that we've already talked about, but the most important thing now, if this bill is to pass, is it has to get going quickly, and at the moment, I don't see it.
So, Paul, what do you think right now is the fastest way to get it passed? Because it does feel like time is of the essence as it relates to the re-elections coming up, and the Senate and the House and all. It's election year, and yet that's in November, and it seems like there's a hard deadline here. So what's the path? Well,
Greg, to get the bill introduced, the people that would normally get support from southern states and the SEC Big Ten had to give something up. And I think the only solution is they've got to come back a little bit to earth. Otherwise, I don't think they're going to turn these people around because, and that has to happen. And there's only one other option, I think. And I would call it the nuclear option. And we saw what he did yesterday in the world of soccer, and the president really would be the only solution, is the president personally starts pushing Southern senators who are not on board. I don't think he'll have as much influence in the Midwest, but certainly, somebody like Tommy Tuberville, who said he's against it. If the president starts twisting his arm, that could affect getting the bill 260, which is the magic number right now.
So it sounds like you've kind of turned the page on this as confidence that it realistically goes through and is basically our new working space for collegiate athletics moving forward. Is that accurate?
Well, I mean, I guess the only thing I'm saying, Cole, is I was in New York the other day. I talked to some people that are very involved. I talked to one or two other people. They're confident. That's all I'm really saying. I don't see a lot of change from here, but something is fueling the confidence of the folks behind the bill. And the only thing I can conclude is that they believe that with the president on their side, they can skip a few steps that we keep talking about here.
Makes sense. Paul, what else has there been as far as the fallout with the Brennan Sorsby situation? We haven't really had an update on that in a while. We all know that he's done playing college football, but it does feel like there's been a little bit of an effect on just kind of the landscape as we know it. So what do you think will be the long-term ramifications of this decision and how this was all gone down?
Even though there's not a direct line to the Senate bill, I think what this was, again, a wake-up call that if you're going to lean on mom-and-pop courts on every corner determining eligibility, college football is in big trouble. Now, we already knew all that, so I'm not saying it, but I think it got the world of college athletics unified for the first time in a while. And I don't think it's one of those inflection moments that changes the world, but it was interesting because I can't remember another situation that has had more people saying the same thing than the Sorsby case.
Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. As we begin to move forward to SEC Media Days, what team intrigues you the most right now in this league? Because we look at it, we talk about it daily, and it feels like right there in the middle of the pack, there are multiple teams that could really surprise some folks. There's one in particular that's gaining, in my opinion, a little too much momentum. And then there's some that are obviously going to fall backwards and disappoint us. Which do you look at maybe now with the most intrigue of don't really know what I need to know about them, but, man, they could really surprise some folks this fall, and I need to learn more about them in Tampa at SEC Media Days?
I think I know enough about them, but I want to hear more on a national level, and that's Auburn. And the reason I say Auburn, the schedule speaks for itself, but I think a lot of people are coalescing around Auburn for one reason: to have a quarterback. And if you have a quarterback that you are confident in right now, there's reason to have momentum. I know a lot of people are saying probably even stronger things about Florida, but there's still some confusion there. And the schedule is fairly problematic. I mean, everybody at this point, Cole, kind of resorts to whatever corner they're in. You hear the negativity on Tennessee. You hear the confidence on Florida. You hear the bewilderment on LSU. You hear great confidence primarily on Texas and Georgia. A little bit of and a lot of confusion, I should say, on Alabama. But I'm gonna answer my question like I'm gonna add one more team. But I have confidence in Alabama now, just because I think the more I study what they have to face this year, I don't think their schedule is as daunting as others make it out to be. So I know I'm throwing a bunch of names up there, but that's what we do. And if you have a quarterback, which I think Alabama has two serviceable quarterbacks, I'm not sure they have an elite quarterback yet, but I do like their schedule probably more than any other school in the SEC.
So, Paul, what do you think would be viewed as a successful season this year for Alabama? What does a quality year look like?
I think double-digit wins is going to be considered high quality. I think 9-3, which is where a lot of people are landing, is the most difficult to interpret. I think 9-3 with Keon Russell having performed extremely well at the end of the season, you'll hear, well, yeah, it wasn't what we wanted, but next year will be. I don't like living in that world, especially in the transfer portal era, but I think 10-2 would be considered a success, and I can't remember ever saying that in Alabama terms. 9-3 is really in the gray area.
Paul, we talk about teams having certain culture, having togetherness, leadership, wherewithal. Like, those are the things that probably are going to mean more than, I don't know, maybe even just overall talent this day and age with where we are in college football. Are there a couple of teams that you feel most confident in having that? And obviously, I think we can probably remove, say, Georgia and a couple others across college football. But in the SEC, are there ones that you worry about that with, that you're uncertain of? Because the togetherness, the understanding, whether it's situational awareness, leadership, or just guys knowing what the guy next to him is going to do, those are what seems to propel teams this day and age, more so than just how many 4 and 5 stars do you have. Got to have those too, but who do you like from that regard? Who maybe concerns you from that regard?
I do like Texas A&M because I just, I like a quarterback coming back and key players around him. I also like the culture that Mike Elko has brought to that campus. And I think Texas A&M left last season feeling like the end of it was just a complete bust, which it was. But they maybe they can learn something from that. On the other side, I'm still unsure of South Carolina. They're probably maybe the most difficult team to predict because they have the capacity to have a similar season maybe to 2 years ago, but they also have the propensity to repeat what they did last year. And I think they're, to say the least, there's enormous pressure on Shane Beamer. And I guess I'm probably most intrigued, maybe not confident, but intrigued by Kentucky. I've been around Will Stein a couple of times, and I think he is completely brought a transfusion to that program, and I think they have the capacity to make some leaps and bounds. I'm also really unsure of Missouri. I like the quarterback situation, but Missouri just seems stuck in that 8-4 range, and I'm not confident they can break out of it.
Paul, finally, a lot of this offseason has been spent around the supremacy of the Big Ten, the quality of the Big Ten. How important is this season overall for the Southeastern Conference in trying to kind of get back the throne of the most difficult or the best or whatever interpretation you might have, because it's taken some hits the last couple of years. So how big is this season from your vantage point?
I think this is much bigger than last year. Last year it felt like, okay, Ohio State, Michigan, SEC has to get back on track now to remain, it's to have its reign over college football and its dynasty. Indiana shattered that last year. That was one of the most punishing blows I have ever seen to college football, and in particular the SEC, because of what happened with the Alabama game. I know they did the same thing to Oregon the next week, but the Alabama game is the one everyone is going to remember. So I think if you it's a big difference going from 2 to 3 and from 3 to 4, especially if it's another Big Ten team, let's say Oregon. I think the SEC has an enormous amount at stake this year, and saying all the things that we've all said down here about how great the league is and how deep it is and how many championships we've won elsewhere is not going to stop the pain and the suffering if the Big Ten does it again.
Paul, great stuff. Always appreciate the time. Good catching up with you, and we'll do it again next week.
Thank you.
Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. With us weekly, thanks to our friends at Craneworks. We'll follow up on a couple of things that he had to say there and continue talking SEC football next right here on Jocks.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, and three-man front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.